First, we should prepare our organization related to attitude, culture, behavior. After that, we can identify, and after that, we are prioritizing the processes.
Welcome to Process Pioneers, the show that takes a deep dive into the minds of decision makers, key influencers, and process experts who are pioneering the world of everything process. Welcome to the next episode of Process Pioneers. My name is Daniel Rayner and I am the host of Process Pioneers. And in each of these episodes, I have the absolute privilege of sitting down with various process practitioners. So these are individuals that are putting the power of BPM, business process management, into practice on a daily, weekly, monthly basis in various organizations throughout the world. Now, we talk with a range of individuals from all different areas and all different organizations, from the academic lens, from a consulting lens, individuals that work internally at organizations as well. In today's episode, I have the absolute privilege of sitting down with Ahmad Daliri. Now, Ahmad is a business process management consultant. So coming from that consulting lens, having worked with quite a range of organizations to help them adopt BPM, BPM successfully, and set up sustainable practices when it comes to BPM. So very excited for this conversation. Ahmad, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for inviting me to this challenging process pioneer. And I think we talk about BPM every time, everything, everywhere. And I'm sure that BPM can help any organization.
Yes, absolutely. I think when applied properly, when given the right tools and the right advice, it can deliver significant value to an organization. But one question the audience is particularly interested to find out is, how did you get started in business process management? I know for some individuals, they are formally qualified and trained. They did a university course or some description. For other practitioners, they stumble into it in the organization that they're working for. Tell us about how you got started in BPM.
I want to tell a story about me at BPM. It was, I think, 40 years ago. After I graduated, from MBA. I started my work in a very special and good companies because of my patents. And everything at the first thing in this company, seems very well. They had a organizational software, functional software, and they do everything well. They have a strategic planning, and they were managing and measuring KPIs, or have a analysis environment with SWOT, and have a planning in MSP, project managers software, and like other things. And when we measure everything, efficiency is very good, but effect is not good. We try to, what is the problem? At the first, I guess maybe it's related to a strategy and research about the strategy. We should change our strategy. We should change our planning. After that, or in the next year, we implement our strategy again, but the result is the same previous years. And again, I researched about that and I understood something. For example, we work task-oriented in our organization, and it's a problem because we work like Iceland in any unit of our organization, for example, sales, marketing, the production unit, and others. And I understood that software is good, but software alone is not help organization. Before the software, we should have a proper analysis system and help to us to integrate our software and other things. And I studied an article, I think, in Fortune that said 80% strategic planning was failed. And after that, I think why the strategic planning was failed. And I understood that is related to implemented of a strategy, because the strategy and operation have a gap in between operation and strategy, because the strategy planned in top of the organization. After that, I studied about BPM and process oriented. I studied from many university, many professors in variety country, anything that accessible for us. And I try to change our procedures and improve that and relate between some procedures. It's very exciting for me. And we established BPM in our organization. After that, I fall in love about BPM, and I think it's very helpful. Then we should try to be aware, more aware about that, and try to establish BPM in other organizations. And from 40 years ago up to now, I'm able to achieve to train 100 companies in Iran on help as a consultant or project managing more than 30 company. And previous years, we held a very big and magnificent conference about BPM in Iran. And we want to held this conference this year. We heard from Marlon Dumas, very good man in BPM, I think. And I believe the BPM and process-oriented provide a fundamental role in organization, and everything we do in organization all related to a process. And when we know, identify process and modeling process, help to know that we can control and integrate with other processes in organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything we do is related to a process. I absolutely agree with that. I think whether we realize it or not, whether we're aware of it or not, everything that we're doing is following a process in some way, shape, or form. So managing our processes are so important. You did mention there that 80%, is that correct? 80% of strategic plans fail, and you would say that that this is due to a lack of process understanding?
Yes. When we buy a software, it's not a solution. Some organizations think that if we buy software, help the organization. But before the software, we should identify the process modeling as is process, and after that we should measure and improve the process. Now we can buy a software related to our process, or a software customize our process, help us to implement the processes.
Yeah, great. No, that's fantastic. So when an organization identifies that we need to manage our processes better, so maybe they are one of that statistic that you mentioned. Maybe it's an organization where their strategic plan has failed, and they've recognized the need for them to start managing their business processes. What are, apart from, your strategic plan failing, which is a huge, sends out a huge alarm bell, what are the main drivers for an organization to adopt business process management? Obviously, every organization, they're facing different challenges. What are the main drivers that you've recognized?
I think at the first organization, what should know that the process-oriented is not just related to higher quality, and in nowadays it's essential for any organization, and we should know why they seek the BPM, and the BPM will lead to what, and we can attention in period of time, and different approach with businesses in period of time. For example, I think in 15th, organization try to just focus on the production and try to produce more than in higher than we go, more than we go. After that, the focus on their production is cheaper than before. After that, focus on the better and concentrate on quality of the production. After that, attention to faster, and time is very important for the organization. After that, try to variety the productions or service. When we follow this period of time, we can understand that we have some problem in organization or what they do, and we can recognize the change they face with important challenging. We can name the change. Change is related to our environment, and we can't control change and effect of any businesses. And the businesses or organization need to be flexible about these changes. Flexible means we could reply or react to the environment changing very fast and very well. For example, we can attention to coronavirus. Coronavirus effect of many organizations, some businesses, organizations related to food industry, decrease their income, and some other related to, for example, drug and like this, increase income and like this, and some other between them. Then the coronavirus was a change from environment that affect our businesses. Or we can attention to changing in the IT or technology that affected any organizations. And we should think of why businesses or organizations try to react or answer these changes. We can understand that it's related to excellent. They stick to excellent. They want to have a more profit, more money, more efficiency, more. They want to survive. They want to grow or development their businesses. And when we think about this excellent, we can imagine 4 steps. Right? At the first, we should know about the goals and strategy, and after that, we should know our environment that affects us. Now, how we should think about it, how we can provide a good relationship between operation, our people, our requirement, and anything to the goal. BPM can help us that we can provide a connection between our resources, our requirement, our people, and goals. Our goal. Then BPM is a tool, is a approach that help us to this journey. And after that, at the end, we should know that the BPM needs the very special resources, not just about the money and like this, about the behavior, about the human, about the people. And we need belief of the manager, a special senior manager, and participate of employees help us to move to excellent businesses.
Yes, yeah, fantastic. That's great. And that's really good. So when an organization adopts BPM, they're obviously, as you mentioned, it's for a number of reasons. Drive them to adopt process management. Do you have some examples you can share with us of where, like specific examples where an organization that maybe you've been working with, consulting with, they've adopted BPM and it has improved their business in some way, shape, or form? Do you have some examples where you can share with me and the audience of where that's happened and what results are possible with BPM?
I can example from a company that have a problem from their customer not satisfied about their company, and we try to what they're not satisfied about this company. After that, we understood that we have didn't good relationship or good connection between the sales department and production department. And when the production produce the customer needs, it's not exactly that for expecting the customer. And we we identify a process related to this area. And after that modeling this process, we understood that something miss between sales and production. And after that, we can help this organization solve this problem and analyze the customer's needs with I think I can remember 3 or 4 processes related to this, and customer analysis help this organization that improve their income up to 100 in 1 year. And I think it's very good for this organization. Or I can remember in another organization that have a problem between public relationship, and after that we provide some new processes in the organization. We haven't any processes that can measure and satisfy our customer like this. After creating the new processes help to their organization now about needs of customer and change their services to customer.
Yes, absolutely. I think, everything ties into the customer experience, or we need to have the customer experience at the focus of the work that we're doing, because at the end of the day, they are the most important stakeholder. Without customers, we don't have the businesses, we don't have the organization. So the processes that we're working on, are they supporting the experience that the customer is having? Yeah. So when looking at creating sustainable BPM, because, we had a brief conversation before we started this interview today, and I mentioned that, I'm aware of many organizations that they'll adopt a BPM approach for a, the goal, the dream is to adopt a sustainable BPM, but it only lasts maybe 1, 2, 3 years. In that time, different people move on from the organization, senior leadership changes. What are the key ingredients for creating sustainable BPM that continues to deliver value to the organization over the long term?
We have some rules, golden bridge rules. This means that we should provide a short-term achievement for organization in any period of time. BPM is a journey, we know, and it's a long term. But we should provide a short-time achievable for any organization. For this, at the first, we should select the processes in the organization. We have many processes, but we should do one of them, how we can select the processes, the first processes. And we select processes with some criteria, like repetitive the process, how we can mechanization of the processes, and how can affect our strategy or goals, and how they work, and related to efficiency and effectiveness of processes. We select the very best processes that can affect an organization. If we improve this process, the organization can know what can help BPM in their organization. After that, the employees, the senior manager and other manager deal with us and help to us. And when change the top manager, not affect our project, because the other people in their organization believe that BPM can help their organization.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. So when selecting that process, it's, as you say, there's a number of criteria there. Which process which process has the greatest impact on the overall strategic objectives and goals of the organizations? Which processes are repeated many times? What can be automated? What can we use technology to improve the efficiency of those processes? Those are some great points there around where to get started, because I think that's a question that the audience does have, or I have been asked myself, is where do you start? There are so many processes in an organization. How do you identify what to start with? And so those are some great criteria there. I guess part of creating sustainable BPM is, it's not a one-man show or a one-person show, I should say. There are many stakeholders, many individuals involved in a BPM journey. Processes, as we've already established, impacts all areas of an organization or touches all areas of an organization, whether it's your frontline employees all the way through to your senior leadership team. There is an impact there or an involvement in the processes in our organizations. So as a process practitioner, and the audience are predominantly process practitioners, how do we get buy-in from the different individuals or the different stakeholders throughout the organization, from the frontline employees all the way through to the senior leaders? How do we go about bringing them along for the journey so that they are on board with the idea, they're championing the idea of process management, and they're not sort of resisting the BPM approach, if you could say that?
Yeah. We can speak about that to part when I was an employee or as a consultant. If I'm employing an organization, I should know about the convenience technique, and I should know about BPM, what's process, what BPM, how can I help you, and what's the achievement of BPM, help us to talk about BPM in our organization. And everything is good in our organization, we should relate it to processes, and everything is bad in organization, we should relate it to lack of BPM in our organization. Or we can speak about some example, other companies like us. For example, I work in a steel company. I can talk about example of other steel company that establish BPM, and how can I help to their companies. And when I'm a consultant, as a consultant, I should at the first I should to provide the content to other people about the BPM and our experience, our knowledge about BPM and etc. In this content, maybe like a video or a podcast or article or like other things, and we can release in our website, in LinkedIn, and YouTube, and now about BPM. And we should speak a benefit of BPM and why we should be process oriented and like this. In this past, maybe we have some challenges. For example, we should change mindset and the habit of people, and we faced of behavior and traditional culture in our organization, and it's so hard to change. Then at the first, we should just talk about BPM benefit and like this. And we have some special courses. For example, we have special courses for senior manager. In these courses, short courses, 2 or 3 hours, just speak about benefit and achievement of BPM and just roadmap of management, what we should do, 1, 2, 3, etc. And other courses for employee, how BPM help to employers, and speak about the role and important of role of employee in BPM. After that, maybe they like or interest about BPM, and we can help to this organization. For example, we can speak about at one point many organizations maybe it was optimistic about BPM or any techniques because their previous experience, maybe they buy ERP, they use some techniques like TQ or maybe they want to establish some QMS quality management system, and they hadn't a good result effect of their mind. And we can speak about the BPM can guarantee the implementation because of BPM approach. We use tools BPMs that help us execute and implement the processes, and people have to do anything we design in our processes and help to move in our processes and help to us and guarantee that processes maybe can establish and people or employee do everything that are we designed for them.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that's really good. And so getting buy-in for BPM, I think courses, as you mentioned, I think that they would be fantastic to be able to bring, especially senior leaders along for the journey, and particularly courses that speak their language. Courses that are that are framed in a way that brings the senior leaders on. What do they care about? What are the key measures and the key metrics and the key indicators that the senior leadership care about and are responsible for, and framing it in a way through the lens of process management, I think is a very good way to bring them along the journey. So thanks for sharing that. And now looking at the future of process management. So obviously and you would have seen such an evolution of business process management over the past 5, 10, 15 plus years. As we look towards the future over the next 2, 3, 5 years, what will BPM look like? Are you noticing many trends? Do you think BPM will change significantly in the future? Obviously, we're seeing various technology like process mining. We're seeing robotic process automation. Mm-hmm. We're seeing these various technologies coming out. But what from looking at BPM as a management discipline, what does the future of BPM look like?
It's predict the BPM future is very hard because of the progress of IT and technology. Let's talk about RPA, process mining, and I think maybe the emergency new thing that I know that about at the moment, but that we can show that any organization should move to process orientated, and their culture, their behavior, their attitude should be changed about that. And I think the Gartner or Forrester report about market of BPM is very good reference for this, and have also to know about that. But I'm sure if any organization don't pay attention to the process oriented, they can manage their resource. We have a restricted resource in our organization, and we should manage our resources, and we should know how resources use in what processes. It's very important, and I think I know the programmer have a key role about BPM and can affect the future of BPM. It's not a choice for us. We should we should move to process orientated.
Yes. Yep. Great. No, that's fantastic. And for those organizations that are, there are organizations out there that are yet to start managing their processes. All the information is still stored in the minds of the various individuals. Do you have anything else that you would advise them in terms of getting started? Obviously, we've already touched on how to identify, processes to start. We've discussed getting buy-in from senior leadership. Is there anything else that you would recommend or encourage organizations that are just getting started in BPM now?
At the first, I think they should know about BPM and the steps of BPM. I mean the life cycle BPM, because I know some organizations that try to be process oriented and buy some BPMs, and they can't achieve a good result. We should do a step by step. At the first, we should prepare our organization related to attitude, culture, behavior in our organization. And when our organization is ready and employees' readiness is enough for us, after that we can identify processes. We should provide a list of our processes, and after that we are prioritizing the processes. Then we can select one by one, and modeling as is processes is very important. As is processes, some organization modeling after that try to executing the BPM, and if the processes is not a good, it's a bad situation, effect of our attitude, effect of our organization faster than before. As is modeling, after that we can measuring and analysis processes. It have at some point this step, we should not stay in these steps. Some organization become BPR. No, we don't need BPR. We should continuous improvement, and we a little improve process. After that, we can execute in BPMs. Now we can monitoring processes, and we can use RPA, we can use process mining, very helpful for us. I can remember in some businesses related to food industry, we have a problem about the return of their goods, and after we select these processes related to the return of processes, analysis and improvement, we decrease 90% the return rate, and I think very good result for the organization. Then we haven't any adopt about BPM. We should go to process oriented, but we should attention that we do any steps in process life cycles.
Yes, great. That's really good. So obviously, Ahmad, we can only touch on so few topics in a 30-minute conversation, and I feel like we've dived into a number of different key areas here. What drives an organization to adopt BPM? What are some examples of results or wins for adopting BPM? How do you set up and sustain BPM successfully? How do you get buy-in from stakeholders all throughout the organization? The future of BPM, where to start when looking for So we've covered quite a range of topics there. For the audience listening, I'm sure you've piqued an interest in them in terms of process management, especially if they haven't embarked on that journey yet. We do have quite a lot of process practitioners that do follow the series as well. But for those process practitioners that you've piqued their interest, for those that are yet to embark on their BPM journey, but you've piqued their interest, where do they go to learn more about BPM? Are there particular resources or particular individuals that you would recommend for people just getting started?
Because of your inviting me to Process Pioneer, and thank you again. I can send my book about BPM roadmap to there and as a gift. And I think the book Fundamental Business Process, Marvelous Human, is very good book, and we can the other book about the BPM slides and method BPM, Bruce Silver and re-engineering processes trigger very good, and they can and the course of BPM for models to months, the video courses, they can watch this video. I think these books and these courses help to know about BPM and work as a BPM specialist in other organizations.
Fantastic. That's great. I think learning from those people that have been there and done that are putting BPM into practice, I think that's so important. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to have this conversation with me, because likewise, our community of process practitioners will be able to glean from you and your journey. If our audience do have any further questions for you, based on the conversation that we've had today, where can the audience find you? How can they get in touch with you? Where would you direct them to go?
In LinkedIn, I present in LinkedIn, and if any question, I can answer in LinkedIn, and I try to follow your video in YouTube. And if any question in comment of this video, I try to answer their questions.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Ahmad. It's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure, and I'm very happy because we speak about BPM, and maybe this video help to other organizations.